rain streaking the windshield, city lights blurred beneath the clouds. The plane lined up for landing, engines steady, and instruments glowing. Then the captain saw it, movement where nothing should be. The problem? The runway wasn't clear, and hundreds of lives were seconds from touchdown. This is the story of Flight 123, a routine approach that turned into a sudden go-around, and how the captain's split-second decision defied a landing clearance to prevent a disaster no one else saw coming. Flight 123 was just another flight, or at least it should have been. The captain had years of experience, the first officer had been steady, and passengers were ready to get home. Nothing seemed off, but the airport was busy. Planes moved everywhere, engines humming, lights flashing, and rain falling steadily. Low clouds hung over the runway, and the wind kept shifting. It wasn't dangerous yet, but it made landing trickier than usual. Air traffic control was working fast, moving plane after plane, trying to keep everything on schedule. Flight 123 got its landing instructions. Clear, firm, no room for delay. They needed the plane on the ground now. In the cockpit, the captain paused. The runway was shorter than ideal, and the tailwind shifted slightly, subtly, but enough to trigger concern. He glanced at the first officer with a nod. Both knew something about this approach didn't feel right. The stage was set. The tower focused on efficiency, and the cockpit focused on safety. Neither side knew how close they were to a decision that could change everything. The plane dipped lower, and the cabin shook. Rain hit against the windows, blurring the runway lights. The captain spoke into the radio, calm but firm, asking if they could switch to a different runway or loop around to check conditions. The response came fast, sharp, and no room for debate. Negative. Continue approach. You're cleared to land. The weight of the instructions pressed down. The plane was lined up, but the margin for error was getting smaller by the second. Passengers could feel it too, even if they didn't know why. The engines hummed differently, and the ride was rougher than usual. The first officer leaned closer. "If we're not stable, we should go around," he said softly. The captain's eyes stayed fixed on the runway. That's when he saw it. Movement at the far end, too close, moving too slow. The controller's voice came again, sharper this time. "Flight 123, why aren't you on glide path? You're cleared to land." The captain replied calmly, steadily, "Unable to land. Runway not safe. We're going around." For a beat, the radio was silent. Then frustration broke through. "Execute missed approach. Climb to 3,000. I say again, you were cleared to land." The captain didn't argue. The climb continued, and slowly, the truth became clear. Another plane had not yet cleared the runway. The blinking vehicle lights confirmed it, and a disaster had just been avoided. Back in the air, tension spiked. Flight 123 now had fuel to manage, weather to monitor, and the responsibility of every life on board. Controllers scrambled to sequence other arrivals. Traffic patterns shifted, and confusion buzzed through the radio. What started as a routine landing had turned into a delicate standoff. Rules versus judgment, procedure versus safety. Back in the air, the cockpit grew quiet but focused. The tension melted into calculation as the captain and first officer ran through every check again. Fuel was tighter than expected. The go-around had burned extra. Every decision now mattered. In the control tower, faces tightened. Controllers realized just how close they'd been to a serious incident. "Flight 123, state your intentions," one asked. The captain's voice was steady. "We need a different runway and priority. Fuel is low." The weight of the words hit everyone. Low fuel changed the rules of the game. ATC quickly cleared Flight 123 into a holding pattern while they reshuffled incoming traffic. Outside, the storm pressed on. Lightning flashed across the sky, and each passing second burned precious fuel. Inside the cockpit, silence spoke louder than words. Both pilots knew the clock was running. Then the captain made the call that would command absolute attention. "Mayday, mayday, mayday. Flight 123 is declaring an emergency. We cannot accept further delay." Everyone listening understood the stakes. This wasn't just protocol. It was life and death, decided in a single moment. Emergency crews lined up as the runway cleared. The storm raged around the airport. Other planes were held in the air, and Flight 123 now had the top priority. The plane turned for the final landing. Rain hit the windshield hard, and engines hummed steadily. Fuel was low, so every move had to be perfect. "Stable," the first officer said. "Runway in sight," the captain replied. Controllers in the tower watched in silence. The plane came down through the rain. It finally rolled forward safely. In the cabin, Silence turned into applause. Some passengers cried as they saw why the go-around happened. At the far end, another plane was still clearing, or a maintenance vehicle's lights blinked. The captain had made the right call. In the tower, relief spread. The near miss was over. Controllers laughed quietly. The tension from the last 20 minutes finally went away. The radio crackled. "Welcome back. Nice landing." The words felt heavy with meaning. The plane slowly taxied to the gate, emergency vehicles following just in case. The danger was over. In the cockpit, the captain and first officer shared a tired smile. No words were needed. They both knew how close it had been. Up in the tower, controllers reflected on what had just happened. What looked like defiance at first was actually good judgment. A decision made in seconds had stopped something serious. Later, the captain and the controller spoke briefly. There was no anger, only respect. "I'm glad you trusted your instincts," said the controller. "So am I," replied the captain. News of the event spread quickly. Passengers talked about how the pilot had prevented a disaster. Headlines the next day read, "Pilot defies orders, averts disaster." Within the aviation world, people discussed judgment, professionalism, and the importance of safety. Finally, the crew walked through the terminal, exhausted but relieved. A few passengers quietly clapped. The captain called home, his voice a little shaky, letting loved ones know everything was fine. It was the calm, satisfying end to a tense, high-pressure situation, a moment of relief earned through courage and smart decisions. At its core, this story shows one simple truth: safety always comes first. A pilot's job isn't about schedules, pressure, or following orders blindly. It's about the lives on board. Sometimes that means questioning instruction, trusting your gut, and making a tough call. This moment shows why pilots are trained to rely on judgment when something doesn't feel right. There's also a human side. The controller and pilot were both under intense pressure, managing traffic, weather, fuel, and an uncertain runway. Stress, miscommunication, and tunnel vision can happen to anyone, but calm thinking and professionalism prevented what could have been a disaster. The lesson is simple. In aviation, the rule is clear: aviate, navigate, and communicate. Fly the plane first. This pilot chose safety over pressure and control over compliance, showing what real responsibility looks like. Courage isn't loud. Sometimes it's just one word said at the right moment. Go around. Now, picture yourself in that cockpit. The rain, the tension, and the voices in your headset, or in the control tower, knowing one wrong call could change lives. Would you trust your instincts and speak up? This story reminds us that safety in the sky depends on people willing to make hard decisions. Pilots and controllers don't just follow rules. They carry responsibility for every life on board. Sometimes doing the right thing means going against expectations, choosing caution over convenience. Next time you step on a plane, remember this moment. Behind the cockpit door are trained professionals ready to act when it matters most, with quiet courage and commitment that keep every flight safe.